I want you to picture this. You're a father living in Israel, and it's the morning of October 7th. You wake up to sirens, you grab your rifle, and you run outside to protect your family. But by the time you get to the front door, it's already too late. You hear screams, you hear gunfire, you hear shouting in Arabic, you hear your wife's voice one last time, then silence. This is what leadership failure looks like. And no one knows that more than Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi. And for all the battles he's won, and for all the terrorists he's hunted down as a former commander of Israel's Sayeret Matkal, and for all the Israeli lives he's saved, he will only remember himself for his one sole failure. And that's why he resigned. Not because he was weak, and not because Israel was losing, but because real leaders take responsibility, even when it costs them everything. And that's exactly what this episode is about. Before we talk about General Halevi's resignation, I want to tell you who this man is. Herzi Halevi isn't just another IDF general. This guy's a warrior. He's a strategist, and he's a man who spent his entire life in the fight against terror to keep Israel safe. He was born in Jerusalem in 1967. His mother's family had lived in Israel for 14 generations. His father's parents immigrated from Russia. His very name, Herzi, is a tribute to his uncle who was killed in battle for Jerusalem during the Six-Day War. This is a man who grew up knowing the cost of war. And when his time came, he didn't hesitate. He joined the fight and enlisted in the IDF at the age of 18. But here's what makes him different. This wasn't some desk general. He wasn't the kind of leader who made decisions from air-conditioned offices in Tel Aviv. Halevi led from the front, and he's not resigning alone. The head of the IDF Southern Command, the former chief of military intelligence, and the former Gaza Division commander have all stepped down over the October 7th failure. One of Israel's most decorated Israeli generals, plus 3 other top commanders, are stepping away. And not because they were fired, but because they chose to take responsibility. And to me, this is leadership in its rawest form. When something goes wrong, real leaders own it. They don't hide behind bureaucracy, and they don't deflect blame. Now compare that to the way things have worked here in the U.S. for the last 4 years. But before I continue with his resignation, I want to talk about his record. Because for 14 months, General Halevi led one of the most brutal and efficient and devastating military campaigns in Israel's history. And Hamas thought they could win with a sneak attack on October 7th. They were wrong. Under Halevi's command, Israel launched Operation Swords of Iron, a campaign unlike anything Hamas has ever seen. And in the first 48 hours, Israeli airstrikes obliterated over 100 Hamas command structures. And by week 2, IDF forces had breached northern Gaza, moving at speeds Hamas didn't expect. Israeli tanks pushed through neighborhoods that had been Hamas strongholds for over a decade, and they absolutely crushed them. And so this wasn't just another round of fighting. This was a systematic dismantling of a terrorist organization. And then there's the hostage rescues. These are some of the most daring, high-risk operations Israel's ever attempted. And under General Halevi, Israeli Special Operations Forces extracted hostages several times in real time in active combat zones, going street to street and tunnel by tunnel. And while this was all happening, Hezbollah thought they could open up a second front in the north. Halevi wouldn't have it. And within hours of Hezbollah's first missile barrages, Israeli drones were already in the air, Hezbollah weapons depots gone, rocket launchers destroyed, commanders dead. Israeli intelligence was dead on. The entire world saw how Israel dismantled Hezbollah. And that's exactly how lethal he was. On October 7th, Hamas didn't just attack Israel. They humiliated Israel. They murdered over 1,200 Israelis, entire families wiped out, soldiers slaughtered in their bases. And Halevi fought his whole life to prevent this exact scenario. And when it happened on his watch, he had to live with it. I want you to picture this. It's the days after October 7th. The war's raging. General Halevi's in his IDF command center looking at the casualty reports, looking at the names of the dead. And he knew that even if Israel destroyed Hamas completely, even if they wiped out every last terrorist, he would always be the general who was in charge when this happened. The Aaron Cohen Show is brought to you by the Cherries Deep Concealment Holster. Same holster I trained Keanu on for the John Wick franchise. This thing runs BWB or below the waistband. Means it's never going to fall off you and zero digging into your gut. Also, fits all double stacked 9 and 40 Glocks. You can see this thing is totally minimal. Very comfortable, fully adjustable clip, and it's ambidextrous lefties. You're covered. Also, lightning fast draw with just a little bit of training. Hit the link down in the description and grab yourself one of these bad boys. There's a bit of a lead time right now. This is a pre-order, but trust me, they're worth it. Finally carry with comfort and proper concealment. So he ended up doing the one thing that almost no leader in the world does. After carrying out this campaign meticulously over the last 14 months, he took responsibility for October 7th. He didn't make excuses, didn't point any fingers at the politicians and the intelligence agencies. He stood up and he said, "The IDF under my command failed to protect the citizens of Israel, and that responsibility is mine." And that it was. And that's what real leadership looks like. And so let's compare this to how leadership has worked here in the United States for the last 4 years just before Trump was elected. When was the last time an American general took responsibility for a failure? When the Afghanistan withdrawal went to hell and 13 U.S. troops were blown up at Abbey Gate, did General Mark Milley resign? No. He went on a book tour. And when 400 police officers stood outside a classroom in Uvalde when children were being slaughtered, did the police chief own it? No. He actually said he didn't know he was in charge. And when Joe Biden abandoned Israel mid-war, cutting off military aid, bowing to pressure from anti-Israel garbage radicals who know nothing about the Middle East in his own party, did he take responsibility? No. He blamed it on Netanyahu. And when Trump was nearly assassinated at that campaign rally because of one of the biggest security failures in modern history, did the Secret Service director step down immediately? No. She had to be forced to resign. And that's the difference between warriors and politicians. And so imagine if every leader in America, every general, every politician, every police chief moving forward held themselves to the same standards as Herzi Halevi. This is what leadership should look like. And this is what leadership used to look like. Halevi could have made excuses, could have blamed the intelligence community for the failures, could have waited for the controversy to blow over, but he didn't. And he did what warriors do. He took the hit so the IDF could move forward, knowing that there was a ton of work left on the table. And for that, he deserves our respect. And with that, we should be demanding this kind of leadership here in the United States moving forward. And I think we're going to start to see that with President Trump and the choices that he's making for his new leaders in these new positions. It's time for them to own their mistakes when they happen or step aside. And that's the lesson of General Herzi Halevi. Do me a favor. If you respect real leadership, hit the subscribe button, like the video, and share it. If you want to help support the show, do me a favor, hit the link down in the description. We're completely independently produced here, and help us fight that garbage anti-Israel misinformation. Hit the link down in the description and join my Season 1 sponsorship team, and let's fight this mission together. I want to thank you guys for watching this one. I'll be back soon as more events continue to unfold in the Middle East. I'm Aaron Cohen. You're watching The Aaron Cohen Show, and I will catch you guys soon on the next one.